All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? And in today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys about one of the most exciting things that is coming to the New World patch, artifacts. Now, there's a lot of good PTR changes that have happened so far. Once again, I think Amazon Gaming Studios is heading in the right direction with New World. Everything I've been reading, everything I've been following has me coming back to check out New World and check out everything. And for the last couple of days, I have been on the PTR testing all these new artifacts. Artifacts are a specialty item set, a unique item set. You can wear one body piece, body pieces or a shield. You can have one weapon and you can have one jewelry piece. And so in this video, I wanted to show you guys all the exciting new artifacts that we know of right now, kind of get your I can provide my opinion on them as we get to them as it pertains to PvP. I'm not an expert. I've just been testing with them. These are just my opinions. I don't know every single potential possibility with these things. I'll leave that up to you as an expert in whatever type of playstyle you play. So yeah, let's dive into it. First of all, we got Unyielding. Heavy armor helmet, magnify is the new stat. So what it does is it assigns 32 to the highest attribute. Now right now it's a little bit buggy on the PTR. It's hard to get proper attributes. Sometimes when you allocate too much constitution or too much dexterity, it shifts everything over in that direction. It's not intuitive. It's not great right now. They said they're working on it, and so I believe that they'll have that fixed. But yeah, it's a really nice thing to have. Basically, you don't have to farm a proper helmet over and over and over again in order to get the right trait that you want for the helmet. It just will automatically go to what you want it to have happen. And so I think that's fantastic. It's such a good change. And then the next trait that we have is we have Hardhead, PvP only, receive 20% less damage from critical hits. They're getting rid of the resilient perk, so I think this is going to be pretty valuable. After dueling quite a bit on the PTS, testing different defensive artifacts, I think this is the best one. It makes sense. Like you're just mitigating so much burst. I think this is going to be a favorite for a lot of builds that are looking for a little bit more tankiness. Yeah, refreshing, shirking fortification, all that stuff is nice. And then you have your random perk that you can assign at the bottom. So yeah, I think this is a very good artifact. Definitely worth running. Obviously, having heavy as a helmet instead of it I know it sounds a little bit clunky, but yeah, 20% less damage from critical hits, in my opinion, is quite good. We have Void Dark Plate. Once again, magnified, dark reinforced. Your armor is increased by 20%. So it's taking your overall armor value, increasing it. So the more armor you have, the more this is going to boost it. Looking at some numbers, I was testing stuff with full heavy. It's a good set. I think this is a good artifact. I think that the helmet is better for more builds, but this will definitely be used as well. Enchanted Ward, negative 4% damage from light and heavy attacks, physical aversion, and then your random perk. I think I can see this one being used a lot more. Obviously, you get more value out of having you get more armor value with this for having more resistances. And so, if you're in more of a medium or light armor build, you're not more medium and light armor pieces. You're not going to get as much value out of running this as somebody that's going full heavy brawler bruiser. I do think this is a good artifact. I think overall, Unyielding was just a little bit better from my dueling tests, which is not scientific, but yeah, I think it's a good artifact. And we have the magnetic gauntlets, crit chance increased by 50%, but crit damage reduced by up to 50%. So how I've read this is yes, 50% increased crit chance, but your crit damage is reduced by 50%. So instead of having your base 50% modifier, it should be 25%. That's how I'm reading it. That's how it looked when I was testing it. Just seemed like a way to have more consistent types of damage out there, more consistent damage when you're fighting people. Also, specialty weapons like spear that gives you more stamina off of crit, stuff like that. This could be more valuable. I didn't test it a ton with spear specifically to see how much more stamina I was getting. It seems like a fine mythic. I think it's going to be specialty in those situations to where you're getting, more defile. Like plagued crits, I could see this being very good with plagued crits where you're trying to get more critical strike values to reduce healing, stuff like that. I do think that this is a pretty good artifact as well. Freedom Pants, these are the ones I didn't test a ton of. I should go back and test this a little bit more. I tested it on the first day and threw them on. Didn't like them as much as other ones, and I threw them off because this is more of like an open world environment. Stun, slow, and root effects expire 25% faster. Yeah. Also heavy armor. Obviously, this is nice. I mean, it's 25% on top of freedom that you have, reduce the duration of slow stun and root by 12%. You get 37% with this one pair of pants. And so obviously this is going to be a very, very nice piece. You already have a ton of reduction if you run heavy. So yeah, I do think this is a good piece. I think this is better off tested in an OPR, and I was testing via dueling. And so it just, yeah, not as noticeable in that situation, but I do think it's good. And now we move on to the medium. We have the Jin head wrap, shrug off non-crowd controlling debuffs, expire 20% faster on you. I don't know. I mean, I'd rather have other things. I'm not saying this is bad. I would just rather have other things than, you know, something that purges debuffs. But that's just me. Nimble leather coat. Magnify, highly refreshing, reduces max cooldowns by 10%. I could see this being used quite a bit, especially with weapon sets that have higher cooldown effects, you know, battle axe, hammer. I know it's a chest, once again. I know it's a medium chest, and those types of builds might want to run heavy, but I could see this having a case to be able to activate skills and abilities more quickly would be quite valuable. So you also have refreshing on top of it, so you get 15% with this one bonus. Health, and then your random perk. Ghoul gloves, these are super interesting, and I didn't find a good way to test these. To notice this, when you hit a foe below half health, transfer 1 debuff, a 3-second cooldown. So yeah, it's one of those, like when you're really applying pressure, when you really get a nice burst combination, it feels like you're just applying the debuffs that they're applying to you. So every 3 seconds, you're just allowing more pressure. It seems like it's good, like when you read how it's supposed to work, but you know, not having access to combat metrics or something like that, where we can actually see what's happening, how many debuffs are being applied, what's being applied, those sorts of situations. It's tough to quantify how good these are. It's somebody else that is more knowledgeable. Let me know. Like, please let me know in the comment section if you think I'm wrong on these things. These are just my opinion after testing them. There's nothing really in-depth scientific about this. It's just like me fighting other people and providing my opinion on it. So I do think that these look good. I do think so, but you have to have them below half health in order to transfer these things over. So there is that modifier. But yeah, I can see this as a situation where you burst a healer, you get the healer to low health, and now you're just stacking debuffs. Like, they're trying to heal, they're staying alive, and this allows you to potentially be able to apply even more pressure. And so I could see this being very, very good, to be honest. So yeah, attuned leather pants, magnify, +10 to all their attributes, just well-rounded. I have not tried these. Seems fine. I mean, it seems fine to me, but yeah, I have not tested these yet. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Refreshing and elemental aversion, obviously those traits are quite nice. And then we have the light armor stuff, 45 intelligence, and then 100% max mana. Which I think would be nice for you casters. I have not tested this also, so more of a I don't really use Magicka or Inferno Staff. I used Inferno Staff for the first time yesterday testing on the PTR. I did not throw the hat on. I was testing something else. Let me know what you think about this also. But yeah, I could definitely see this having a strong use case. Featherweight jacket. This one is super interesting. Magnify and then weightless. The armor is weightless, so this doesn't apply to your gear score, and so, or your weight, and so you can have a light armor chest, and basically you can add armor in other places and still keep a light armor value. So this is super interesting. I think it would be more interesting if it was a medium or heavy chest, and it being weightless, because then you can amplify values and then still get other perks. So you could run full in that type of situation. You could potentially run a lot more heavy, but still be in medium weight. I think that'd be super interesting. I'm not saying this is bad. This is just, it's a way to get to light armor with more medium and heavy armor. It's a way to get to medium armor with more heavy armor. It is a unique perk that it's definitely worth considering on a few different loadouts where you're trying to, get to lower weight, armor weight. And so I tested this, basically running sword and shield builds, trying to get down to light armor, having access to block and dodge mechanics and everything, while also being a little bit more bulky. Interesting. It's an interesting artifact. I think you're going to see some interesting builds come out with the featherweight jacket. I do think that one's not bad. And then my favorite one, I do run bow rapier, bow spear, spear, rapier. I like to run light armor builds. So we have the tumbler shoes. I think this is the best one for how I like to play. Successfully dodging an attack gives you 15% in power and 25% fortify for 5 seconds. You are also healed for 200 plus 2% of your max HP. Yeah, 15% of power and 25% fortify for dodging an attack. Light armor. This is just those two things, and then on top of that you get a heal, and you get refreshing and physical aversion. Not bad, plus your random perk on top of it. Yeah, I'm curious if you can get shirking heals on here, if you do shirking fortification. I'm not sure what random perk I would choose. I think it would just kind of depend on what I'm running with it. But yeah, for how I'm playing, the tumbler shoes for me are going to be the best. It's the best body artifact that I can get. Then we're onto the weapons. The one-handed sword, the butcher. Bloodletting, bleeds last 33% longer, works on both weapons. So if you have bleeds on your other weapon, this is a way to get bloodletting on your weapon. They do have jewelry. I mean, your ring has bloodletting on it, but it's not always easy to run a ring with bloodletting. So yeah, this is a very interesting set. Nice was testing it versus me, stacking a few different bleeds, and was applying a lot of pressure. Jagged Whirls, Whirling Blade inflicts bleed, dealing 10% damage for 6 seconds. I'm not a huge fan of whirls, the whirling blades. Not a huge fan of it personally. I'm not a big sword and shield guy, but it's not a bad perk, especially when you have bloodletting on top of it, applying more pressure, those sorts of things. Empowering Whirling Blade when 3 or more enemies are within its radius while performing a Whirling Blade attack. Gain 52% base damage. So yeah, Whirling Blade with this specific weapon they're making it as good as they possibly can. And then you have Keenly Jagged, which obviously is a very nice perk to have, especially with bloodletting. And then you have a random perk on top of it. So this is a very good weapon, in my opinion. It's a very good weapon, especially if you want to run like sword and shield and spear, and you want to use like the coup de grace bleed. If you want to use another weapon that has access to bleeds, having a bloodletting perk on there is quite nice. The Butcher, I was enjoying the Butcher quite a bit. Freya's Francisca. I didn't test this one. This one just doesn't look good to me. I'll be honest with you guys. Thrown axe projectiles reduce all X skill downs by 25%. It is nice that it doesn't require you to hit somebody in order to reduce the cooldowns, but it's a 5-second cooldown. I could see this being interesting, especially with going Berserk, having higher Berserk cooldown, like 20% more damage. I should test this, to be honest, and I'm sorry that I haven't, but like I don't know. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comment section. I didn't test it. I just feel like it could have been more. Like you look at some of the other weapons we're going to get to, this one just seems not as good. Empowering Rending Throw, ranged hatchet attacks deal 40% plus 40% damage against Rending Throw targets, and then Refreshing Move, and then your random perk. Yeah. Spark of Mjolnir. Magnified Mjolnir's Blessing, 99% of hammer damage is converted to lightning, and you deal 20% more lightning damage with both weapons. Mighty Gavel causes a lightning strike that inflicts 50% weaken, and then Refreshing Mighty Gavel. Mighty Gavel hits reduce the ability's cooldown by 20%, max 2 activations per impact, and then light and heavy attacks reduce your active weapon cooldowns by 2.5%. I'm not a big hammer main. One of my buddies is, and basically this set is pretty busted for activating Mighty Gavel. Like you can almost have Mighty Gavel off. It's almost a spammable with this specific weapon. I will say, as far as aesthetics go, the lightning, I feel like they kind of missed a little bit. If you care about aesthetics of weapons, they hit so often. Like how New World's weapons look and feel are very good. But the lightning with Mjolnir here, like they called it Mjolnir, man, and the lightning is just kind of, it's not as cool as you would think. But the Mighty Gavel, like the actual activation, being able to spam Mighty Gavel is quite good. So I would say that this weapon is a good weapon. I think you're going to see this quite a bit. In group-based situations. It's annoying. It's annoying to deal with in 1v1s. If you hit multiple people, you'll just be spamming this. And so I can see this in wars. I can see this in OPRs, like being a very, very powerful weapon. The Abyss, 99% of damage is converted to void, and if higher will scale from intelligence. So another cool thing that they did is allow some of these weapons to scale off of something else. And so you're going to get more unique build designs, which once again, theory crafting. I think this is an awesome idea, allowing weapons to scale off of something else. I did not test this one. I've only had 2 days on the PTR, but yeah, this is one of those ones I didn't test. I don't think it's bad. Let me know what you think. Deal 20% more damage when your mana is below 100%. Kind of interesting. Abyssal Attunement, Attack Steel. So stacking into this abyssal damage. Refreshing move. Yeah. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I'm not saying it's bad. I think some of the other weapons are better. I just haven't gotten to this one yet. I will get to this one. I will provide my feedback when I do. But yeah, these are my opinions so far. The mechanic, guys, I can't run a musket. I just can't. I can't do it. Muskets kind of gave me, after earlier this year when muskets were extremely powerful, I just don't want to run one. I know that they're not in that situation anymore. I know. I just haven't gotten to this yet. So trying to make a joke there, but I'm failing miserably. Yeah, 33% movement speed for 5 seconds after deploying a trap. Very nice. Traps and sticky bomb cooldown reduced by 25%. Yeah, so you get accelerating, so you get this movement speed. This looks like a way to have very high movement speed on a build. And so if you like muskets for that reason, I think those are not a bad thing. So trap and sticky bomb cooldown reduced by 25%. You can activate these more, and then you get 33% movement speed for 5 seconds after deploying one of these traps. So all these things are stacking well. Traps now apply a bleed for 16% of weapon damage for 5 seconds, and then you have your mending sticky bomb. Every hit of sticky bombs heals you for 32% of the damage done. So nice synergy there of all the traits, and then you get the random perk you get to add on top of it. So yeah, I don't think it's a bad weapon. Now onto the shield. We got Michael, which is the kite shield. Cooldowns reduced by 5% on block, lose 1 debuff, which is kind of cool. Counterattack on block, gain 30% in power for 4 seconds. That's also cool. Healing defense on block, heal for 3% of the base max health. Also kind of cool. And then life stealing, heal for 7.1% of the damage deal. I use this a little bit. I thought it was interesting. I don't think it's a bad shield. I think the weapons are better, and we'll get into the weapons. Like I think if you're choosing between, like, so for the shields, you're either choosing between the shield or the body pieces. And so I personally think, well, we can go to the other shield as well. We got the wall. Gain 5% damage reduction. You cannot dodge, but have 33% more stamina. I think this is also interesting. Might be more interesting in, PvE-based environments, but being able to dodge and duck things are important. Take 25% less damage from all elemental sources, which is also nice. 10% less stamina damage while blocking, also nice. And then keenly fortified, gain 10% fortify for 3 seconds on critical hit. So I do think that both of these have their place. I just think when you're choosing between a shield and a body piece, I think more often than not, like I would rather run like Void Dark Plate or Unyielding or maybe the Freedom Pants. Like, I'm not saying I'm right in these situations. I'm just saying that between these choices, I think those are just a little bit better in a lot of situations. There will be specialty situations to where when you run one of these shields, that it very well could be better for that specific build. I'm just talking in generalities. And so, yeah, let's leave it at that. Inferno is very interesting. If higher, inner power. If higher, this weapon scales with strength. So now you have a strength-based Inferno staff, so now you can run a strength-based Inferno build. Hellfire's Fury, plus 20% damage when you hit a target within 5 meters. So you can have a strength-based Inferno melee build now with an Inferno staff. I tested this a little bit yesterday. I tried to get 20% more damage on Flamethrower. I tried to be one of those Flamethrower guys because I thought it'd be funny. Yeah, it's an interesting weapon. Incinerate deals 40% damage to targets with burn, and then you get Vicious, and then you random perk. I do think you're going to see some interesting things with Inferno Staff. So that one's super interesting. Scorpion Sting. It's a good weapon. This is a good weapon. Javelin now does 160% weapon damage and pulls targets towards you. Now the pull is interesting. It doesn't always pull people in front of you. It's based off the distance. So at max distance of the pull, it will pull people in front of you. If you're too close, like if you're within 3 to 4 meters of somebody and you pull it will actually pull them the exact same distance, but behind you. And so I'm not saying this is a bad weapon. I wish the pull mechanic worked a little bit better to where it always pulled people in front of you. As it stands, like you just kind of get yo-yoed all over the map. And then with some cooldowns, on things, you can really activate this a lot, and it makes for an annoying fight. But yeah, Sundering Javelin inflicts rend to targets above 50% health, reducing the target's armor by 40%. Nice perk to have, especially with Spear. And then Trenchant Strikes, heavy melee attacks deal 23% damage. So very nice spear to have. You can see, you know, somebody trying to run away. You javelin them. You could use sweep, coup de grace with the Trenchant Strikes. You know, you could potentially get the coup de grace perk on here. Could be a very, very powerful weapon for stopping people from trying to run away from you, which can be problematic in New World when you're dealing with one person. So in that way, this is a pretty good weapon. I do wish the pull, like I said, I do wish the pull was a little bit better. I do wish the pull mechanics always pulled people in front of you. Finisher. Attacks against bleeding targets deal 15% more damage and reduce Flourish's cooldown by 5%. 1 second cooldown works on both weapons. Deadly Flourish. Flourish deals 41% damage against targets below 50% health. So that's the first part of Flourish and Finish. So nice stack. And then you have Keen Tondo, 26% chance against targets affected by Tondo's bleed. If this perk is on a weapon, Tondo also causes negative 10% weakness for 10 seconds. So I do like this Rapier quite a bit. So on bow Rapier builds, because there's no bow artifact yet, the Rapier is basically your only choice in that situation. I do like this. I like messing around with Tondo, personally. I like messing around with Tondo and Flourish and Finish and having those high Flourish and Finish burst combinations. Like, I'm not saying it's great versus everybody. Like, a lot of people know what's coming and everything, and Flourish and Finish can be avoided and stuff like that. But I like the high damage numbers. So that's my personal opinion. So I like the high damage numbers. And so having attacks against bleeding targets, 15% more damage, reduce Flourish's cooldown, being able to activate this more, and then you get 26, you have Keen Tondo on top of here, and then you also get a random perk to stack on top of this, whatever your favorite perk to go with this is. For me, this is my personal favorite artifact for like everything I like to run. And so I like this quite a bit. I think this is a very cool weapon. It's a lot of fun to use. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I enjoy it. We've got Life Taker, the Void Gauntlet. Your ranged attacks inflict Disintegrate for 8 seconds on both weapons, and if higher, this weapon scales with Dexterity. Once again, another very cool thing. I was trying Void. I did Void Bow. I did Void Rapier. I tried Void Spear. Like, Void Spear was a very interesting combination. Just being able to be in somebody's, like, snare them, keep them in place, lock them down, and then just do damage with Spear. It's a very, very interesting combination. The fact that you can now run both is pretty cool. You got Life Stealing on here, Keen. Kind of a weird combination, you know? But the fact that you run it with Spear, you get 7%. Well, yeah, I don't know. This is one of those where, like, all the other perks, they don't stack as well as some of the other ones. But I do like the idea of being able to run, like, Void with Dex builds, and so that's super interesting. Pestilence. I have never ran Blunderbuss until yesterday when I was dueling. This thing's nasty. This thing is really, really nasty. Bladed Enchantment, attacks against targets inflict a stack of poison, and a decrease to incoming outgoing healing effectiveness by 7% per stack for 6 seconds. So do the math. 3 stacks, 21% with this. With Plagued Crits, critical strikes against targets below 50% health. Inflict disease for 6 seconds, reducing healing effectiveness on the target by 26%. So 21 plus 26%, you have 47% healing reduction potentially with this specific weapon. And so oftentimes in OPRs or 3v3s, we all know this. I mean, they've done a reduction to healing, but now this is potentially another weapon against high healing. Maybe too much in that direction. I don't know. It is very powerful. And then you have Pest, 15% damage against poison and disease targets. So you get increased damage. Like, all this is stacking up is what I'm trying to say. And so Blunderbuss in this specific, this is, in my opinion, a very strong weapon. And once again, on the bottom, Keen, 7% critical chance. So you see stacking Keen with Plagued Crits. Like, and then it inflicts disease, and then you do 15% more damage against disease target. Like, all these stats are stacking together quite nicely, and so it's a very nicely put together artifact, and so it's quite good for what it's doing, which is reducing healing. And so yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of Pestilence Blunderbuss builds out there. It's a good artifact in my opinion. Serenity, Balance Blade, offensive stance, 2% in power per attack for 5 seconds. Defensive stance, 2% fortify when hit for 5 seconds. Max of 10 stacks. This is interesting. I couldn't get into defensive stance a lot when I was trying to duel people. I don't know why. I was trying to activate it. It just wasn't working very well. I don't know if that's a PTR thing or not. This weapon looks good on paper. Trenchant Strikes, heavy melee attacks deal 23% damage. It's not just a full heavy. It's any sort of heavy attack, which is nice. Trenchant Crits, heavy melee attacks deal 34% critical damage. So yeah, you get Trenchant Strikes, Trenchant Crits, a lot of potential bursts with heavy attacks with a greatsword. All these things look good. You get Empower on top of it, so this all is stacking nicely. Refreshing move, light and heavy attacks reduce your active weapon cooldowns by 2.5%. So once again, all these things are stacking and they look very nice. I just don't know why I couldn't get into defensive stance very often. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't run greatsword a ton. It just wasn't working very well. Odo, the flail. This is my second favorite artifact. You deal 20% more damage to stunned foes. Works on both weapons. So 20% more damage just by running flail. I think flail is a very cool weapon. I think it's a lot of fun to use. And then you have Odo's defense, unblock, heal for 5% base health. So yeah, flail and shield with this. Life stealing heal for 7.1% of the damage you deal. Does not trigger off persistent damage or dot effects. And then refreshing move, light and heavy attacks reduce your active weapon cooldowns by 2.5%. So yeah, having something like hard hitting on your other bar, like something that hits hard, like you have a stun combination, whether you run like activating a stun with a hard burst hitting thing while they're still stunned and on the ground. 20% more damage is pretty nasty. You can stack that with an artifact coming up here in a little bit. This is a very good weapon. I like this weapon quite a bit. Also having 5% base health heal when you block. It's also quite nice. I think this is a very, very good artifact. And so, yeah, I do see myself running a few flail and shield builds next patch for that reason. On to the jewelry. Endless Thirst. Healing health potions are 33% stronger, but the cooldown is 20% longer. I think mathematically this works out to just be better. I think this might be the one I end up using the most if I use an artifact on the jewelry. Empowering Toast on potion drinking 10% empower, and then fortifying on potion gain drinking 20% fortify for 3 seconds. I wish these were longer. You have a longer cooldown on your potion, and so now you only get 10% empower for 4 seconds, and then you gotta wait for 20 something seconds for it to happen again. And then on potion drinking, I know you have multiple potions that you can consume, and so you can kind of stack those in that way. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It seems a little uninspiring, but the 33% stronger potion isn't bad. And then you can add your random perk to go with it. I don't think this is bad. I think it's good, but yeah. Blood Drinker. Super interesting. This is what I've been testing quite a bit. Negative 25% damage, but 25% lifesteal. Lifesteal here applies to dots. And so stacking dots allows you to get a lot of incoming healing, which is super interesting. And then you have leeching on top of it. So you get lifesteal plus leeching. Heal for 7.1% of the damage you deal. Does not trigger off persistent damage or dot effects. So the leeching doesn't. Then you have 10% max stamina. And then your random perk, whatever you want to run with the random perk. I think personally, if I could do this, I would try to get bloodletting on the ring so that you have... So since the 25% light deal works off of dots, I think I would try to get the bloodletting perk here on the ring so that you have the increased duration, increased healing, stuff like that if you try to activate these things. I don't know if this is going to be the best artifact in most situations. Negative 25% damage is a lot. You got to be able to do damage in order to apply this, and so there's going to be certain playstyles where this is just a no-go. So but yeah, it's very, very interesting. I've been testing it in duels quite a lot. The lifesteal is quite noticeable in those situations. Lost Stopwatch, Stunning Gaze, activate Taunt Gems. Stuns last 100% longer, but base damage is decreased by 5%. So yeah, you can see this working in wars. 5% reduced damage, but you're applying 100% longer stuns, allowing things like Odo to do 20% more damage. So you see potentially stacking Odo with this. You can see that, yeah, sure, your damage is decreased by 5%, but you get 20% with Odo. And so having more bursty combos, like it's going to offset it quite a bit. That's not a huge penalty for having a longer stun, in my opinion. Purify, when you're hit while below 50% health, you lose all debuffs. 90-second cooldown, does not trigger off persistent damage, dot effects, or blocked attacks. And then you get 7% max health. So I do see this being used quite a bit with bruisers and brawlers. Pretty good. And then they have some weird thing here. But yeah, there's no bow so far, and there's no frost gauntlet. And so I think that's it. I think those are the only two that are missing. I wish they had a bow artifact. I wish they had a frost gauntlet artifact, but they do not. And so it's a little bit disappointing. Hopefully that's just a mistake and they're going to release those. But overall, a lot of really fun things to test. I haven't tested everything, but those are my initial impressions after testing most of them. Get your theory crafting brains working. Like, what are you going to run what are you going to run? Are you going to be a blunderbuss main, reduce healing? Are you going to run the rapier like I'm going to? Are you going to be light armor with the tumbler shoes? Are you going to just be a tanky boy with either unyielding or the void dark plate? There's a lot of options here. Let me know in the comment section what you guys are looking at. Let me know what you're kind of looking to combine, because yeah, theory crafting with this type of combat opens up a whole lot of new avenues, and it makes for some more fun and interesting playstyles. So thank you, AGS, for doing this. This is such a cool idea. I think a lot of these are very well designed, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what the community does with all these different sets. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.